Success stories in Hollywood often sound like fairy tales. A gifted young performer rises to stardom, gains a devoted fan base, and makes headlines for all the right reasons, until everything suddenly falls apart. That's exactly what happened with Brasher Gray, the dynamic entertainer many once believed would dominate screens for years to come. For a brief moment, he was Hollywood's newest darling, hailed as the next major talent who could do no wrong. Yet today, he's become the subject of endless speculation, disturbing rumors, and multiple run-ins with the law that have left fans wondering what really happened behind the scenes. Recent whispers suggest Brasher's downfall is far from a simple cautionary tale of fame gone to his head. Instead, an unsettling narrative has emerged, pointing to hidden circles, questionable mentorships, and hush-hush arrangements that left Brasher more victim than villain. Equally intriguing is Terrence Howard's commentary on how black men in Hollywood are sometimes tamed or feminized for profit, a viewpoint some interpret as a subtle reference to Brasher's predicament. Add to this Jaguar Wright's bombshell allegations involving major moguls like Diddy, Will Smith, and behind-the-scenes figures such as Charlie Mack, and you start to see the outlines of an industry that might be far more sinister than most of us suspect. What's unfolding now could be one of the most explosive Hollywood narratives in years. If the truth ever fully comes out, keep watching, because the further you follow Brasher's story, the darker and more bizarre it gets. Brasher Gray was once the epitome of youthful talent. He had the charisma, the voice, and the on-screen magnetism to captivate millions. His breakout role on a hit TV show shot him into the stratosphere, and almost overnight, he went from unknown to unstoppable. Interviews, photo shoots, and red carpet appearances followed, painting him as an ambitious up-and-comer who could easily transition between music and acting. But that meteoric rise took a harsh turn when police records revealed a far more troubled side. Suddenly, tabloids weren't celebrating Brasher's talents. They were showcasing mugshots and harrowing stories of physical altercations. One notable incident involved a standoff with the SWAT team, after which Brasher was reportedly taken into custody for harming his spouse. Observers were stunned. How could this sweet-faced performer fall so hard, so fast? While some chalked it up to the trappings of celebrity life, substance use, poor judgment, or mental health struggles, others suggested something deeper, and then came the deafening whispers that powerful individuals might have exploited Brasher, creating a perfect storm that drove him into repeated crises. Yet for most of us, this was still just speculation. That is, until a figure named Jaguar Wright started naming names and forcing a harsh spotlight onto the entertainment industry's underbelly. But don't assume this was the end of Brasher's story, because the revelations have only just begun. Brasher Gray's rise and fall provide a stark window into the labyrinth of celebrity culture. The quick climb to fame, the sudden descent into chaos, and the lingering question of whether it was ever fully under his control. At the center of this drama lie allegations of forced freak-offs, manipulated mentorships, and unscrupulous gatekeepers who may have steered him towards self-destruction. Jaguar Wright's bombshell revelations, Terrence Howard's cryptic commentary, and the rumored lawsuit looming in the background all contribute to a story that refuses to be neatly wrapped up or dismissed. If these claims have any validity, they serve as a chilling reminder of the power imbalances that can exist when ambitious young talents meet influential moguls. Perhaps Brasher's story will remain a cautionary footnote in Hollywood lore, overshadowed by bigger news cycles. Or maybe it will ignite a larger reckoning, prompting us all to question what really goes on behind those glitzy facades. The only certainty is that the stakes are higher than ever, and the truth, if it emerges, could shake the industry from top to bottom. For now, the world watches and waits. Brasher Gray's silence might be strategic or enforced, and the big names implicated might be holding their breath, hoping this all blows over. But Hollywood's carefully manufactured image has cracked before, and it can crack again. Whether we're on the verge of another seismic shift or just another whispered rumor, one thing is for sure: the real story lurking behind Brasher Gray's downfall is likely far more twisted and far more heartbreaking than any scripted drama. Hollywood is, in many ways, a kingdom built on illusions. People see glamour, success, and polished images, but behind the curtain lie complicated power structures, NDA-bound hush money, and unspoken rules about who can say what. Sometimes the system looks the other way as young performers are tossed into situations they can barely comprehend, let alone resist. Brasher Gray's story could be a rare glimpse behind this velvet rope. Jaguar Wright's claims, Terrence Howard's interviews, and blind item rumors all point to an institutional problem, where youth, ambition, and naivete can be wielded against rising stars for the benefit of established power players. We've seen glimmers of this pattern before, from child actors who vanish after accidents, to adult stars who pivot from mainstream fame to obscure corners of the internet, never to return. If Brasher's ordeal represents a broader phenomenon, then the real question is how many others have been silenced by legal threats, blackmail, or personal shame. While some might see it as conspiratorial, remember that Hollywood has repeatedly been rocked by exposés revealing wrongdoing no one imagined possible. If these allegations gain traction or evidence surfaces, the fallout could be unlike anything we've witnessed so far. But that depends heavily on Brasher's next move, and whether the public is ready to hear a story that challenges everything they think they know about stardom. In many ways, Brasher Gray's future rests on a razor's edge. He could remain silent, either by choice or coercion, allowing rumors to fade while trying to rebuild his life. Alternatively, he could go public, share every harrowing detail, and attempt to hold his alleged abusers accountable, though that path could bring unimaginable pressure. Some fans theorize that if Brasher joins forces with others who've encountered similar exploitation, a wave of revelations could topple even the most untouchable figures. Yet the risk is immense. The entertainment machine has decades of experience in crushing inconvenient voices. If he can't secure a robust legal team and a stable support network, going public might lead to personal catastrophe. Nevertheless, the possibility of redemption, both emotional and professional, remains if he manages to turn the tables. Hollywood has witnessed comebacks before, especially when a star emerges with a compelling story that captures the public's sympathy. But no matter what, the cost will be steep and the opposition formidable. While Terrence never directly proclaimed Brasher Gray a victim, his interviews about the dangers lurking for black men in Hollywood felt more than coincidental. He mentioned how young black actors often face demands that strip them of their authentic masculinity, all to fit certain marketable images. Could this be a covert nod to Brasher's predicament? Some believe Terrence sensed that Hollywood was turning Brasher into yet another cautionary statistic, and by highlighting systemic injustices, he aimed to warn the public. Others argue Terrence's own controversies, allegations of domestic incidents, for instance, make him a flawed messenger. Yet it's possible for him to have his own personal issues while still sounding the alarm on a broader problem. It's equally plausible that Terrence felt compelled to speak in riddles. A more direct statement implicating top-tier moguls could trigger lawsuits or blackballing of his own. After all, no one emerges from a battle with industry power brokers unscathed. For now, his measured approach suggests he's wary of crossing a line, but still wants to plant seeds of awareness. But the question remains, how many more seeds need to be planted before Hollywood faces a reckoning? And who else might be suffering in silence? Jaguar Wright's theories go beyond mere speculation about secret parties. She insists that once a star like Brasher is ensnared, substances often come into play. The logic is simple and chilling. A dependent actor is easier to manipulate, less likely to speak out, and more prone to public meltdowns. Once they're labeled unstable, it's game over. Nobody believes their allegations if they later decide to blow the whistle. If you look closely at Brasher's multiple arrests, they often occurred under circumstances suggesting deeper issues, possibly worsened by substance use. Fans who recall Brasher's bright, confident persona from just a few years ago find it hard to reconcile with the man in those mugshots. But that dissonance might be exactly what these alleged exploiters count on. A broken star can't mount much of a challenge when they're battling addiction, legal woes, and the world's scorn. Yet there's still a sliver of hope. Some suspect Brasher might find the strength to speak if a tipping point is reached, potentially altering Hollywood's power dynamics forever. When rumor after rumor points a finger at big names like Will Smith and Diddy, one would think they'd be quick to issue a strong denial if the claims were unfounded. Instead, both men have largely maintained public silence on Jaguar's allegations regarding Brasher Gray. While they might view the accusations as baseless, that silence fuels speculation. If there's truly nothing to hide, why not swat down the rumors decisively? Supporters of Will and Diddy argue that responding to every wild claim is a losing battle. Major stars are constantly targeted by outlandish stories. Detractors, however, say these allegations are too specific and persistent to be brushed off as mere gossip. Add the involvement of other names and rumored evidence, a secret tape, for instance, and you have a scandal so enormous that silence can start to look like an admission of guilt. Regardless of where you stand, the next chapter may hinge on whether Brasher or anyone else with insider knowledge dares to speak plainly and risk everything. Among the most disturbing of Jaguar Wright's allegations is the existence of a secret tape featuring Brasher, Diddy, Will Smith, and possibly Jaden Smith or Justin Bieber engaged in questionable freak-off activities. The mere hint of such a recording is enough to make any publicist's head spin. Is it real or is it just another wild rumor? Some fans dismiss this talk as sensationalist gossip, while others recall how many times impossible footage has surfaced, shattering carefully crafted public images. If a tape really exists, it would be a nuclear-level scandal, especially if minors or coerced individuals were involved. This angle alone brings the entire conversation beyond the realm of a typical star meltdown. It also raises huge moral and legal questions that make the usual Hollywood dramas look tame by comparison. Moreover, Jaguar claims these freak-offs weren't random, one-off events. Instead, she describes them as part of a systemic pattern where big-name mentors lure younger talents into bizarre or boundary-crossing scenarios under the guise of networking or bonding. If Brasher was caught in that system, it might explain why he's struggled to speak out openly. Someone who's witnessed these events could face retaliation from extremely powerful entities. But even this might not be the end, because rumors suggest Brasher is preparing legal action that could blow everything wide open. For a while, the grapevine buzzed with talk that Brasher Gray was gearing up to file a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against at least one of the moguls in question, specifically Diddy. The supposed figure mentioned was a staggering $50 million, a sum that, if accurate, indicates how severe Brasher's allegations might be. Lawsuits, however, are never simple, especially when dealing with celebrities who have nearly unlimited resources. From top-tier legal teams to ironclad non-disclosure agreements, a high-profile case can drag on for years, draining plaintiffs both financially and emotionally. If Brasher ever officially files, he'll have to be prepared for an onslaught of negative press, countersuits, and every skeleton from his past being used against him in the court of public opinion. But perhaps that's part of why Jaguar Wright claims the industry rushed to discredit Brasher, labeling him unstable before he could become a serious threat. By presenting him as a perpetual troublemaker, it's far easier to dismiss any jaw-dropping allegations as the ramblings of someone who's mentally off balance or just seeking attention. For now, the rumored lawsuit remains elusive, and nobody can say for sure if Brasher has truly built a case. Still, one man's silence has fueled speculation that he's waiting for the right moment to strike, or that he's been forced to keep his mouth shut. And that leads us back to Terrence Howard's cryptic stance. Terrence Howard is famous for his unforgettable roles and magnetic on-screen presence. Yet in recent years, he's generated headlines for his outspoken criticism of Hollywood's treatment of black men. In several interviews, Terrence highlighted what he calls an industry-wide push to feminize or diminish the power of African-American male actors, allowing white male stars to be strong and dominant, while pressuring black male stars to tone themselves down or conform to certain stereotypes. It's easy to dismiss such claims as just another celebrity's opinions, but when Terrence started referencing how many talented black men are forced into compromised situations, especially if they want to climb the industry ladder, fans began connecting the dots to Brasher Gray. Could Terrence have been alluding to the rumor that rising black talents have to play the game, sometimes in humiliating ways, to advance? Even more suspect was the timing. Terrence's pointed interviews ramped up right around the time Brasher's personal life unraveled. Some surmise Terrence was dropping cryptic hints about Brasher's predicament, without outright naming him. On the surface, Terrence simply criticized a system he believes is broken, but read between the lines, and it might be a coded confirmation that Brasher's struggles were part of a larger pattern of exploitation, one that's not only accepted in Hollywood but deeply ingrained. Yet Terrence himself has a controversial record, so does that undermine his warnings, or does it make them ring even louder? The answer isn't simple, and the drama doesn't stop there. Brasher's arrest became headline news multiple times over, fueling public speculation that he was dangerously off the rails. The disturbing reports described violent encounters and frantic police interventions. Each time, the media frenzy overshadowed his earlier charm and talent, labeling him a ticking time bomb instead. Critics argued these incidents could be the result of deeper issues, such as unaddressed mental health challenges, substance entanglements, or even trauma responses from behind-the-scenes experiences. Jaguar Wright claims it's all of the above, that once Brasher was exploited, he was cast aside, left to self-destruct. The last thing the alleged puppet masters wanted was a stable, credible Brasher who might blow the whistle on them. Unfortunately, people often remember the scandal more than the reason behind it. With every new mugshot, the narrative of Brasher Gray being dangerous or unreliable solidified in the public's mind. And if Jaguar's blackballing theory holds any truth, these sensational incidents provided the perfect cover to bury him. Once a star is painted as problematic, it's that much easier for the industry to shut them out, or discredit any revelations they might share later. But if you think multiple arrests are the worst of it, what comes next involves rumors so explosive they could destroy reputations for good, if they ever see the light of day. Jaguar Wright is no stranger to controversy, especially when it involves high-profile celebrities and the secrets they'd rather keep hidden. For years, she's used interviews and social media to reveal alleged wrongdoing by industry titans. Some call her a truth teller, while others dismiss her as a firebrand, addicted to stirring the pot. Love her or hate her, though, she's rarely ignored. When Jaguar turned her focus to Brasher Gray, she did more than claim he'd fallen into bad habits. She painted a lurid picture of freak-offs, hush money, and big league manipulators. The most staggering part was her insistence that mentors like Will Smith and Diddy were not the benevolent guides they appeared to be, but rather powerful men who leveraged their status to lure promising stars into exploitative scenarios. And Brasher, she said, was one of their unfortunate targets. Her allegations didn't stop at those two. She even hinted that Brasher's manager, Charlie Mack, and Brasher's own mother, Andrea, played roles in orchestrating these twisted mentorships. Suddenly, the story shifted from young star loses control to young star was never in control to begin with. Was it possible that key people in Brasher's life had acted more like gatekeepers to adult-themed events than protectors? And if you think that's shocking, the next part of Jaguar's tale goes even further, implicating some of the biggest power players in the industry. Charlie Mack was once respected for helping mold teenage performers into genuine stars. He was also Brasher's manager when Brasher was still in his teens, a time when any mentor worth their salt would prioritize safety and well-being above all else. Yet, according to Jaguar, Charlie Mack practically delivered Brasher to some of Hollywood's darkest corners. Jaguar also accused Brasher's mother, Andrea, of turning a blind eye to these arrangements, allegedly lured by the promise of financial and social gain. This part of the story, if true, represents a heartbreak that's particularly difficult to fathom. A mother allowing her child's exploitation. Critics argue Jaguar's narrative is too extreme to be real, while others claim it's plausible in a world where fame can twist basic moral compasses. To top it off, Jaguar contends that any attempts to help Brasher, like urging Andrea to cut ties with Charlie Mack, fell on deaf ears. If these accusations hold even a grain of truth, it suggests a horrifying layer of opportunism lurking in the background. Perhaps the reason Brasher spiraled wasn't just personal issues or a hunger for attention, but an actual pattern of psychological and emotional manipulation, fueled by people who should have been his biggest defenders. But how does Terrence Howard fit into all of this? His words might hold the key to understanding the bigger scheme, one that allegedly goes beyond just Brasher.